I'm so sick of leftists. They hate our culture, our traditions, our values, and our liberties. And I'm tired of leftists who, while engulfed in the blessings of our civilization, want to dismantle it to its core and replace it with some politically correct neo-Marxist Orwellian dystopia. And we can't have anything nice anymore. Leftism poisons everything, from cities to entire nations to Christmas, Halloween, football, the movies, the internet, and comedy, just to name a few things. And they really hate comedy because it's a powerful tool against their nonsense, because all comedy is critical. And the worst thing for someone who wants to deconstruct our society is when people are laughing at their ideas. It would be hard to take critical race theory and systemic institutional structural racism in America today real seriously in a room full of people of diverse races who are laughing about racism, especially when the person making everyone laugh is a young rich black guy.
I study that kind of I do anything that has to do with race. I read a little here, see a little there, and I travel. That's always good. Traveling has made me a racism connoisseur, if you will. You know, it's different from region to region. Anyone ever been down south? So you guys know what I'm talking about. Now, the racism down there is just, it's perfect. It's due to a perfection. It's comfortable, it's out in the open. There are no secrets in Mississippi. Everybody knows the deal. Morning, nigger. Morning, sir. Not up here. You hit the big cities, man, it's different. It's always a secret. And we should do like them. We should keep our shit out in the open, then a little. I mean, with limits. You don't want to say whatever comes to your mind. That might be a little much. White dude be walking down the street minding his business. And the brother walk up to him. Hello, you white oppressor, you slave master rapist of Africa. Why, hello, my big lip spear chucking friend. Touche, hunky. So, Whitey, what did you do today, huh? Oppress a new land and make the people there Christians against their will? What did you do, fellow? Burn those big black lips on a crack pipe as you missed your job interview? Easy, Whitey, you're cutting deep. All this chit-chat has got me thirsty. If you will excuse me for a moment, I'm gonna go to the Korean store and get something to drink. Ching-a-ling. Hello. You slanted-eyed, ruining the economy in our neighborhood by opening stores and taking the money out the community. Chink. Well, good afternoon, you browse around but never buy anything, suspicious looking nigga. After a while, that might be too much. But you can't help it. If you're an American, you're a racist. We brought up from the beginning to think in generalizations. We never look at the individual. We rarely look at the individual. I'm a racist. I know I'm a racist. You know how I know? The other day I caught myself being racist against myself. There's so much going on, I got mixed up. Forgot whose team I was on. One time I was reading the paper, man, this story came on about this guy was suing a department store because they wouldn't let him play Santa Claus, you know, because he's black. And I was actually like relieved when the department store beat him. That's bad. But I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for the idea of a black Santa Claus, man. That would suck. So we wouldn't get our presents till the 28th, 29th. Ah! Sorry I'm late, kids. Santa got caught up with some in Vegas. I had to sell some toys to get back. Shit. Where them cookies at?
You know, stand-up comedy holds a special place in my heart. I've loved it since I was a kid in the 70s when I got a hold of a Richard Pryor tape and laughed so hard I cracked a rib. Then in the 90s, my favorite thing to do after a long day at work was grab a six-pack of Ice House and stop at the video store. And the first section I'd go to is the stand-up comedy section to see if anything new came out. So it's sad to see that a whole lot of comedians today are flat out following the rules of political correctness or aren't standing their ground and are slowly caving into political correctness, or at least jumping on board the orange man bad and his supporters are dumb train. And don't get me wrong, I have no problem with making fun of Trump as long as it's funny and not preachy, virtual signaling bullshit. Actually, one of the conservative political shows I try to catch every week makes fun of Trump all the time, and I think it's hilarious.
Whether you love him or hate him, you must admit there's been no one like Trump. Part celebrity, part guy who might have you killed. He may be the most entertaining political figure since Caligula. This is where I cue the montage.
It's called Make America Great Again. You see what's going on.
So how does the press treat you?
I hope they're showing how many people are in this room, but they won't. They don't even do that.
Vote for Big Luther Strange. And we have the most beautiful piece of chocolate cake that you've ever seen.
Coming from a different world and only being a politician for a short period of time, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? I'm president. Hey, I'm president. Can you believe it?
In the land of the rising sun, where exotic food and uncooked delicacies abound, one man dared to have it his way.
Instead of ordering sushi or tempura, the man orders a well-done cheeseburger.
It's the story of one man's quest to stay consistent.
Now, someone's bound to ask, how do you, in a ranty, anti-leftism video, reconcile that most of the comedians you're talking about are or were on the left? Well, my answer is this, because there's a difference between being liberal or left-leaning and being a leftist, which is someone who's a member of the cult of neo-Marxism. For example, George Carlin definitely leaned left, but hated political correctness. Same with John Cleese. And you'll never hear a leftist saying something like this.
That you did had a great eye for British culture. What do you make of British culture now, particularly after the riots that we've seen?
I'm not sure what's going on in Britain. Or let me say this, I don't know what's going on in London, because London is no longer an English city, and that's how they got the Olympics. I mean, they said we're the most cosmopolitan city on earth, but it doesn't feel English. I had a Californian friend come over 2 months ago, walk down the King's Road and said to me, well, where are all the English people? And I mean, I love having different cultures around, but when the parent culture kind of dissipates, you're left thinking, well, what's going on?
So I have no issue that most really good comedians have been liberals, especially since there's a good reason for it. And that's because humor usually requires saying things that upsets social norms. And when our society was more conservative, liberal comedians were naturally better at that.
Bitch. Bitch is another word like that. Same kind of word. It's only dirty part of the time. Depends on what you mean by bitch. You might be the lady from the San Diego Zoo visiting one of the Tonight shows, and you might just have a bunch of little canines with you there. One of them is a female, and you say, there's the bitch, Johnny, and it's okay, fine. Just don't refer to the singer the same way, that's all. Is that bitch going to do another number? Yes. Animals are fine on those two-way words, and that's it. That's what I was trying to find. The words that were always dirty, not just part of the time, but completely filth. Well, in looking for these words, I kept finding new categories. We have so many ways of describing these dirty words. It's Well, we have more ways to describe dirty words than we actually have dirty words. That seems a little strange to me. It seems to indicate that somebody was awfully interested in these words. They kept referring to them. They called them bad words, dirty, filthy, foul, vile, vulgar, coarse, in poor taste, unseemly, street talk, gutter talk, locker room language, barracks talk, bawdy, naughty, saucy, raunchy, rude, crude, lewd, lascivious, indecent, profane, obscene, blue, off-color, risque, suggestive, cursing, cussing, swearing, and all I could think of was shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits. That's all I had.
And now, because the social norm has shifted to being politically correct, is why the left can't meme. When the right violates the social norm of political correctness with a cartoon frog, it's funny. But a politically correct lefty who doesn't violate the social norm of political correctness just isn't funny. We're always going to have liberals in our society, and that goes for any society. And that's fine, as they can add to a society, like spice can add to a meal. Of course, when you add too much spice, it ruins the entire meal. Luckily, most grow out of liberalism because wisdom comes from living. So the problem today isn't that there are naturally occurring personality traits that make some people, especially young people, more liberally minded than others. The problem is we've allowed our society to be subverted by neo-Marxist ideology. I can't even imagine how many parents have sent a normal kid off to college and got back a leftist nut job, often with a worthless degree. We should have never allowed our freedom to be used against us in this way. And this wasn't something our founding fathers didn't think of. On the contrary, they warned us about this many times. And unfortunately, we didn't take the necessary steps to protect our way of life, steps that I see countries like Poland and Hungary taking today. For example, last year, Hungary's parliament passed the Stop Soros law, a law banning NGOs like Soros's Open Society Foundation from operating in Hungary, citing undue political influence on a sovereign nation, and banning courses like gender studies in universities, citing that it's ideological subversion, not science. And by the way, Viktor Orban, Hungary's prime minister, was re-elected last year for his fourth term by a landslide.
Nem internacionalisták vagyunk, hanem nacionalisták.
Az, hogy most biztonságban itt lehetünk most, egyetlen egy menekült sem rohangál az utcákon. Nagyon
nyugodtan
fontos.
kimerünk jönni az utcára, és nem azt látjuk, hogy Párizsban, Bécsben, Németországban, Svédországban és a környező országokban történik. És éljen Orbán Viktor.
Éljen Orbán
nem tetszik,
Viktor.
azt menjen.
A lefty asked me the other day, what does Make America Great Again even mean? What specific time period is it referring to? I said a time before leftism seeped into nearly every aspect of our society and culture and spoiled it. And like I said a minute ago, unfortunately, that includes comedy too.
Well, you spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand.
What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in four basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black. You still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of United States society. The psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. Obviously they will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be greatest shock for them, of course. So basically, America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C. Most of the American politicians, media, and educational system trains another generation of people who think they are living at a peacetime. False. The United States is in a state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. And the initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system. However ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you.
And that is the real problem, colleagues. Why there is such a problem in this crisis? Because member states are reluctant to transfer new sovereignty and powers to the European Union. And we all know that the only way out of this crisis is a new transfer of powers to the European Union and to the European institutions.
Okay, so what do we do? What is your recommendation to the American people?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is, of course, there must be a very strong national effort to educate people in the spirit of real patriotism, number one. Number two, to explain them the real danger of socialist, communist, whatever, welfare state, big brother government. So two very simple, maybe two simplistic answers or solutions, but nevertheless, they are the only solutions. Educate yourself, understand what's going on around you. You are not living at a time of peace. You are in a state of war.